Crafting and gathering can sometimes require a good bit of planning and research. Whether it's looking up how to get a specific fish or trying to figure out how to manage your inventory, many players end up relying on various resources to make things easier to manage. As an achievement hunter, whenever I get into the mood to actually aim to work on the relevant achievements, I do find myself reaching for these tools. Here are some of my favorite ones. Ocean fishing has a variety of achievements, including a really awesome shark mount and some truly great titles. These achievements can have you aim for points or for catching a certain amount of fish, and of course, for catching some annoying fish. Lulu's Tools helps with all of these. You can access a list of fish if you want to keep track of what you've already gotten, and it even has a bonus calculator if you want to estimate how many actual points you need to get to a certain amount of total points. The best part, though, is that you can see the upcoming schedule and filter to something you're already aiming for. Once you've selected the trip you're aiming for, you can scroll down and see strategies. You can choose from a variety of filters. If you're aiming for points, you probably want the high-value fish. But if you're aiming for completion achievements, the other filters might be more useful. It can let you get a quick glimpse of what you need to do. If you scroll further down, you might see another version aimed at the special achievements that require catching a certain number of a specific type of fish. These follow very different strategies, so make sure you're looking at the strategy that matches your goal. You might also see some macros. Not every strategy has macros, but the ones that do exist, I use the macros myself and they're pretty good. If you're not familiar with fishing, you might have a little hard time understanding the terminology. DH is for double hook, IC is for identical cast, SS is for surface slap. If you see something like 19 to 26S, that's seconds for how long a line has been out. Staying on the topic of ocean fishing, some of these achievements do require having a pre-made party of fishers. For this, I would recommend using a Discord. There are many of them, but the one I've used successfully to party up is Fisherman's Horizon. They also have other resources available, such as spreadsheets for diadem fishing and other fishing guides. So we've gone over ocean fishing, and as mentioned for diadem fishing, you can also use the resources in the Discord. But what about big fish fishing? My absolute favorite resource whenever I'm in a big fish mood is Carbuncle Plushie. This lists the upcoming fish. You can pin ones you're especially interested in, maybe you have to do them for one of those really annoying quests that do exist, and you can mark away the ones you've already caught. You can filter for specific expansions or patches, which can be helpful if you don't want to hurt your inventory with tons and tons of bait. For fish with multiple ways to catch, the site will only offer one method. Sometimes it's the most efficient method, sometimes it's the cheapest. The site only recommends one method for simplicity, which is vetted by the owner. People do leave feedback if they disagree, and the owner is excellent at replying and considering suggestions. If you do want to see the other options though, you can click on the fish to get to Teamcraft, which just so happens to be my next favorite resource. Teamcraft is both a website and a desktop application that has a very active development community. The information on the site is very accurate. Here you will see the hours of the day, the baits used, locations, and many other things that will help you determine what you want to do for fishing. However, Teamcraft is a tool that goes far beyond just fishing. It's an absolute fantastic all-around resource for all forms of gathering and crafting. Let's talk about gathering first. For miner and botanist, you can go to the log tracker or to the gathering items to add alarms for timed items you need to get. If you have specific items to craft in mind, you can also make a crafting list and then add alarms from there. Because of how much Teamcraft provides, this is pretty much the only external tool I use when it comes to miner and botanist gathering. Now let's focus on the crafting portion. As mentioned, you can create crafting lists. I especially use the one from the log tracker because I craft for achievements. However, you can also search and add items if you're crafting for guild and commissions. This can make knowing what to gather, buy, and pre-craft so much easier. It even links to Universalist, a community-sourced market board app, for prices if you'd rather buy from the market board. There are simply too many features of Teamcraft to cover it all. It would honestly need its own video, but I will mention one more feature I love about it. There is a crafting simulator. You can input your stats, and you can even save them in your profile for future use, and try out your craft there. This is especially wonderful if you're aiming to make a macro that doesn't rely at all on anything RNG, so only things that are 100% rate, as you can then export that macro and put it in the game. Do check them out, as there are many other features I will not be discussing that are really good, like community rotations and leaf quest planners. My last recommendation is the Lodestone's Eorzea database, which is the official item database for Final Fantasy XIV. If I see an item can be sold at a vendor, the Lodestone is always the most accurate source of where it will be available. Sure, there are other resources with lists of vendor, whether it's Teamcraft or Gamer Escape, but sometimes those will have mistakes or incomplete lists, whereas Lodestone is always accurate. However, it's really only useful for vendor information, including trades. When it comes to desynth or gathering locations or timers, the Lodestone doesn't publish that information at all. There are other websites that are worthy of honorable mentions. First is Cat Became Hungry, also known as Final Fantasy XIV Angler. Once upon a time, this was the fishing resource. Many people still swear by it. However, over the years it has built up a good bit of incorrect information. This typically won't affect the average player, but it can greatly affect achievement hunters. Hardcore achievement hunters are more likely to use the other resources previously mentioned. Next is Crafting as a Service. It has a pretty good equipment calculator, crafting leaf planner, and plenty of options. Pretty much everything here is also available in Teamcraft, but this one has a more minimalist UI, so it can be a little less daunting if you're a newer crafter. Last is Garland Tools, which also has crafting lists, gathering timers, and fishing windows. Personally, I found this site a bit confusing to navigate, but there are plenty of people that like it, so it's just a matter of personal preference. And that's it for my list of recommendations for crafting and gathering resources. There will be other videos about resources related to other aspects of the game, and to make sure each video is self-contained, there might be repeats if a site happens to span multiple categories. As with any recommendation video, these are highly subjective to my opinion. If I missed any resource that you feel really deserves a recommendation, let me know in the comment section. If I ever remake this video, your favorite resources just might end up in the updated version.